elections tonight, and I mean, I don't understand what you're getting at there.
Because it is hard to get 10 people to volunteer just to be on the board. We have to beg our membership.
So the fact that now you have a lot of people here, because chat's been in trouble since for the past year, and now you have people here and you're acting like, you know, this is a charade?
Where were y'all several years ago?
That's not the point. That's not the point.
We were right here.
May I finish my presentation? I really do have a few other items I'd like to, and then I'll sit down and you can all respond however you like to it. But if I may, thank you. That was one point about the members who joined, said they wanted to be members, wrote checks, and then the next day the motion was theoretically passed. But the motion was the vote on the motion was improper. In fact, both resolutions were improper, and I would like to explain to you what the problems are. And I think these are things that you can certainly remedy in the future. But I think that the votes you have taken on these past two resolutions are invalid. So
And
I'm not
just
saying
so
that
you know that our council recommended that we take this action. We
I
didn't
have
come
no
up-
way of knowing what your council reviewed
I'm
or
sure
what
it
the
did.
scope of his
Our
legal opinion
our
was.
bylaws and our,
I don't know if he reviewed all the emails or if he had, I don't know what he was asked to, I mean, I can't comment on what your council
well,
did.
we're not asking you to.
I don't know the scope of what he was commenting
Just
on
sharing
or what he
with you
reviewed.
that-
So let me just tell you what I personally reviewed and what I personally concluded. And again, I am not in any way trying to be combative here. I think that you have the right to do many of the things you've done. I just don't think you've done them properly. And I think as an organization that holds itself out as a nonprofit corporation, you're really putting yourselves in a vulnerable position. Okay, so why do I think the votes were improper? There are 10 members of the board of directors. On the first motion, the president and the vice president didn't vote. Karen and Liz proposed the motion and seconded it, but neither of them voted. Faith voted late. Cynthia and Ann voted against the motion, so the final tally, there were really only 3 out of 10 votes. That's not a majority. Additionally, let me talk to you about Chapter 617 Florida statutes, which
The
governs.
information he has incorrect, but I have the email, so.
Okay, I did not see anywhere, if I was given the wrong information, I saw that Karen and Liz proposed the motion and seconded it. I did not see where they voted at that time.
You may not have all the emails.
Okay, I may not have. All right, now, additionally, let me talk to you about the requirements of Chapter 617. Chapter 617 of Florida statutes governs the conduct of meetings and voting for nonprofit corporations. And there's a couple of sections here that have been violated. Section 617.0820, parens 4, prohibits meetings from being conducted in any form that doesn't allow the board of directors to, quote, and this is the critical part, simultaneously hear each other during the meeting. So what this means is that you can't have votes by email. You can have them in person, you could probably have them in Skype, where you can all hear each other. But it has to be a forum where you can, quote, simultaneously hear each other during the meeting. So both of those recent votes that I reviewed were defective. They were done by email, passing them back and forth. Nobody could simultaneously hear the other person. Simultaneously hear, okay? Now the second law is section 617.0207, parens 5, Florida statutes. And it says that there are some exceptions to the rule about holding meetings with simultaneously being able to hear each other. One is if there's an emergency, and an emergency is described as, quote, a catastrophic event. I don't think you fall under that. And the second one is actions may be taken by directors without a meeting if the action is taken by all members of the board, and this is the critical part, quote, the action must be evidenced by one or more written consents describing the action taken and signed by each director or committee member. As far as I could tell, there's no written signatures on any of these resolutions, and for legal purposes, an email is not a signature. You either have to get DocuSign, or you have to sign something and then scan it in and fax it, or, you know, something that shows an actual signature. So, that didn't happen. Third, under section 6170822 Florida statutes, it says, quote, "A special meeting of the board of directors must be preceded by at least 2 days' notice of the date, time, and place of the meeting." And this meeting was not properly noticed because it kept changing times and places, and so there wasn't proper notice for the meeting. So I don't think that you're even legally convened here tonight because you didn't have the 2-day notice. Because see, each time you changed the date or the time, you started the clock running again. And the last thing is that Florida statutes requires that if you're going to suspend or expel a member, there has to be, quote, "a procedure that is fair and reasonable and carried out in good faith." And I don't see that the people who have been expelled had any kind of procedure that allowed them any kind of due process. So, again, my being here is solely to give you a legal opinion. It's not to criticize you. It's not to argue with you. I think you have the powers to do many of the things you've done. I just don't think you've done them properly. And I think as a result of them not having met the law, they are invalid. And I think you got to start all over again. And what that means is that it wiped out everything that you were trying to do, which means the members are here, they're valid members now. And if there was any kind of vote supposedly take place tonight, I don't know what the status of that would be. But it would be my opinion that you really need to be much, much more serious about following the proper legal protocols, because you're going to get yourselves into a very vulnerable situation as a nonprofit organization. And I hope my comments have been helpful, and if I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
And could you tell me the chapter?
Chapter 617 Florida statutes, and if you want the specific rules that I'm quoting, it's 617.0820